phase two, I started to look at this problem, but it was pretty intractable. There were a few parts of it that were particularly challenging. The way many colleges of education are structured, there's a department that tries to handle the methodological needs of all of the departments. And sometimes this can work well. Often it's an impossible task because the more specialized fields become, it's hard to contextualize the design and the methodology to the theoretical area with the kind of precision needed for students to compete in the peer review process. And so as I talked to different counseling psychologists that were in colleges of ed, even at fairly prolific universities, they mentioned that that wasn't a new problem, which gave me some solace. And certainly pre-tenure, I was hesitant to invest too much energy on the problem, but I did talk to lots of different people about it. It was almost getting to the point where when I would talk to people, it was more misery loves company, because I was realizing that the barriers seemed fairly insurmountable. How are we ever going to kind of protect people's time and give them more of what they needed when the broader system hadn't really been designed to do that? I was starting to realize at VCU that was a combination of an entire group of faculty that were prioritizing something different. We were in a psych department that had federal funding, a number of people with like over $10 million grants running through the department. So it was a really strong research department. And many of the faculty were in like biopsych or social psych, so areas where there actually aren't jobs other than academia or maybe industry. So it's not like you can fall back on a career as a psychologist, a practicing psychologist. And they were within a larger context of a college that was also fine-tuning the mechanisms to prioritize some of those things. So I was starting to feel like this might not be very possible. I was feeling kind of stuck, not sure what could even happen. But I kept talking to different people about it. I kept tinkering a little bit with what our team was doing. I would try to warn my students of some of these things and talk with them and start to kind of wrap my head around what might be possible. Here's when things turned. It was at 10 Lizzie's. Ev was in town. I think it was, he had a speaking engagement. I think he was recording a set of lectures in Atlanta. And so we were eating lunch and catching up in general. And I decided to commiserate with Ev, but I also knew that he seemed to eventually kind of get the knack of mentoring. He had placed over 10 people in academic positions, and so had consistently been able to train people and help them get jobs. And so I'm like, how'd you do it, Ev? Like, what's the secret? And I was kind of expecting him to say something, that would be easy for me to dismiss, and that would kind of confirm my sense that I was in a helpless situation. And as he often does, he surprised me. What he ended up saying was that it was actually pretty recent in our team that he really felt like things kind of hit a different stride. And he identified the key moment as when he had someone on the team who was the GRA for the multivariate stat sequence. I was like, oh, wow. That was actually just a few years before I came. I think that was Josh. And so Josh was the GRA, and we, all the students coming in relied really heavily on him because he was really good at kind of laying things out in a very structured and kind of step-by-step way. And I was like, oh, okay. And I look back, okay, yeah, my first year, all along, we were starting to work together, and he would just teach me really quickly what he knew. By the time I got to my second year, I was able to learn new things because a lot of the knowledge that was within our team or our lab, he had passed on within the first year. And so by second year, we were both kind of going out and taking different courses and bringing them back and writing papers together. And I would do one set of methods, he would learn another set. And I was like, oh, okay, that actually makes sense. And it made me realize that I didn't have an excuse for the learned helplessness, because this was actually going to open up some possibilities. I started to see a way through. If you kind of remember Seligman's learned helplessness, I had kind of convinced myself that there was no way out. And now all of a sudden I had an aha moment. I was like, oh, there actually may be ways to make incremental change. It won't be easy, but this is possible.